We've been talking about Just Stop Oil for quite a long time. We've been saying that sooner or later something bad will happen. Today something bad did happen. Luckily it wasn't actually a deadly incident, but 2 lorries crashed into each other because of a rolling roadblock put in place by the police because of these people clambering up a whole selection of different gantries on the M25. The police seem incapable of stopping them. This is going to end badly, isn't it?
Well, we're a free society and you can protest, but this is totally, utterly irresponsible.
Yeah.
You know, they say that they'll have no future. The people on the M25 will have no future. And sooner or later, did these people realise what a pile-up on the M25 or any motorway could look like?
Yeah.
Do you realise that 30 or 40 people have been killed in these pile-ups in a bad one?
Yes.
Utterly, utterly irresponsible.
Yeah.
It's not proper protesting. It is verging on what you're talking about. And I'm worried that if the police don't deal with it, the public will.
Yes. The Terrorism Act of 2000, and I had a call this morning from a friend of mine who knows a bit about this sort of thing. The Terrorism Act of 2000 defines terrorism both in and outside of the United Kingdom as the use of or threat of one or more of the actions listed below. Now let's have a look at the actions that they say represent terrorism. 1. Serious violence against a person. Yes. Serious damage to property, yes. Endangering a person's life, other than that of the person committing the action, yes.
Yeah.
Creating a serious risk to the health or safety of the public or a section of the public, yes. Action designed to seriously interfere with or seriously to disrupt an electronic system.
That's it.
All of those qualify these people as terrorists.
You step over a line. You step over a line as soon as you put yourself on a carriageway.
Yeah.
You put people in danger. It's utterly irresponsible.
Yes.
What's astonishing about these people is that they think they're moral doing this.
Yeah.
And it's them against society. Ordinary people. That policeman, who I gather a policeman has been injured on a motorbike today. You know, he got up in the morning. They have to face his family. He got up in good faith to do a job for the public, and they've caused an accident. It's just they're utterly childish.
Yeah.
It's astonishing.
Well, they used to sit on the motorway, if you remember. I mean, there was a time when they glued themselves to the M25, which was equally as dangerous because they could have caused a pile-up then because car drivers could either have run them over or been hit up the back end by screeching to a halt. Now they're climbing up on these gantries and causing the same problems. It's just ridiculous. But there's so many of them, William. This is what troubles me as well. I've spoken before about this woman in California who's a descendant of the Getty oil barons, who's got bucket loads of money and has gone mad, basically, and gone rogue. She is donating millions and millions of pounds to these climate protesters all over the world. And so they're being bankrolled.
Yeah.
So they can afford to do this, because you do wonder sometimes, if there's been 600 odd arrests, those are not necessarily all just, one arrest, one person, but there's hundreds of these people because they're being paid.
There are hundreds.
It's a job.
There are hundreds, but it's them against society. I mean, if how big is society? How big is the police force? I gather there are 150 core activists that would do this type of thing, and I think society is big enough to deal with them, and it must deal with them. They shouldn't have to wait. I criticise this government a lot. They have to wait for a crisis before dealing with it. If you're stopping motorways, you're doing something extremely dangerous. I hate to see people, even in the cities, people stopping roads in London, and the police are watching them, and the public are having to deal with it. And the police should lift them immediately and arrest them, put them in jail.
Also, we now know that their main aim in life is to continue to disrupt, right? Yeah. And they managed to arrest a few people the other day before they did anything, because they had already figured out that there was a conspiracy and a plot to do some kind of criminal damage. So surely, on the basis that they know that as soon as they let them go, they're going to go and do it again, they can just re-arrest them. Don't let them go.
There's got to be some charge. This is a serious thing. Blocking a motorway is a serious matter.
Well, under the Terrorism Act, they can be
28 days
withheld or held for 28 days without even a charge. So I think that's what we start doing. We just start locking them up and build special detention centres for Just Stop Oil.
Perhaps we should, but I'll ask you a question. Where are these protesters in bringing to light the big polluters? Why are they having a crack at this society, which is largely deindustrialised and it has decarbonised, and yet massive polluters like China? Have they protested outside the Chinese embassy?
Oh no, I couldn't do that, because that's too dangerous. They might actually get beaten up by the Chinese goons that operate within the Chinese embassy walls.
Well, that's what happened in Manchester.
And that's what happened in Manchester. Yeah. The point is, that as I've said all week, this business of reparations and paying back for all of the troubles that we've caused, supposedly now, most of the really, really bad emissions have happened in the past 10 to 15 years, mostly by the big newly industrialised countries like China, like India. So actually, if anything did happen during the Industrial Revolution, it was never anything as bad as what's happening now. So why is it our fault?
Well, it's not. I mean, the other thing is that obviously industrialisation was polluting, but remember, there's a big difference between, the polluting that's happening now is with knowledge that it might be causing CO2 levels to rise. James Watt and George Stephenson didn't know that.
Right.
You can hardly blame them for that. So I don't buy that. I think the people that argue for reparations, that's just part of a bigger sort of anti-Western campaign. And a lot of people say, well...
But our government falls for it, though.
Well, they shouldn't. They're not backing. They're not backing this society. Their job is to look after us, not to shell out money,
not to look good after dinner parties.
Exactly. Well, I've argued many a time, Mike. But that's the same reason they don't deal with the migrant crisis.
Yeah.
Because as middle class people, they don't want to have a view that seems to be sort of low status.
Yes.
And I'm afraid having a secure border is terribly old fashioned, and you can't say these things. But that's what the public want.
Yeah, the public do want it, and the public deserve to be given what they were promised at the election, aren't they? I mean, aren't they entitled to actually say, look, we want our borders secure. We don't want people coming here in their thousands who are not entitled to be here, but who also not only are being given free accommodation, but might actually get compensation because we didn't treat them very well.
Yeah. No, of course.
Really?
But the public ought to wise up, and anything that they read in one of the big parties' manifestos should be dealt with a degree of scepticism. I mean, the Tories have done this at every election for 20 or 30 years and have done nothing about it. So I just wouldn't believe them, frankly. I would urge people to stop voting for these moribund parties.
Well,